But I can't believe this. I'm a politician.
Unbelievable.
You can see the excitement.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands?
People want to move. People want to move to Canada.
They're not acting like politicians. They're acting like middle school kids.
If Donald Trump is president, that's going to be a really big disaster, and I'll probably have to leave the country.
Where would you go?
I'm going to Canada.
You're going to move to Canada?
I love Canada.
28% of Americans say they'll move to Canada if Donald Trump is elected president. 15% if Hillary's elected president.
I agree. I would move too.
We brought them the immigration papers.
I have application forms for permanent residence in Canada.
Would you fill it out?
And they were like, hell yeah. Like, it would be a great reality show. Like, I would watch that show. It'd be very well written, honestly. It was a reality show. But it's real life. I mean, I was shocked that people actually filled them out.
But like, what are we gonna? What do we do now? What do we do with them?
Right. Yeah, we didn't think about that. Okay. There is one person we could ask.
You can't just text the Prime Minister.
Perfect day. So glad to be here.
Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, heartthrob phenom who rode a wave of flowers and sunshine to victory last fall. He's such a phenomenon that he inspired this.
Could you run for president here?
No. You know what?
While I was trying to interview him. Stealing all my interview questions here.
You will literally beg me. Okay. Get up, guys. I don't know if you noticed, but I actually have a job, and it's a pretty good one.
Once I got him away from the thronging bros, I asked him about the impending 86.8 million Americans.
That's like so many millions of Americans. Like, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire avec tous les Américains?
D'abord, il faut comprendre que ça se passe à chaque élection aux États-Unis. If you remember George W. Bush's election, George W. Bush's re-election especially, there's a lot of people saying, oh no, if he gets elected again, I'm moving to Canada. And then, other people were saying the same thing around Obama and Obama's re-election. But, if you actually look at what happens after elections, the immigration numbers don't necessarily spike.
So we actually talked to New Yorkers, and do you mind if I share their messages with you?
Hey, Prime Minister Trudeau, hey. Please help us. Please help us.
If you can grant me refugee status from Donald Trump, I'm totally going to move to your country.
Let all Americans come to Canada so we could be safe and happy and free.
You had a quote, right? Like, your cabinet's diverse because it's 2016. Like, that's the kind of thing that we need. We need to move forward and be more inclusive, so...
Remove that border. We don't want no border between us anymore. We don't want that. We want one country, one nation, one president. If things go rogue, in that bad direction,
Save us. Save us from Trump.
please save us. Thank you.
What do you make of that?
This actually gives me tremendous confidence.
Really?
Yeah, because people are realizing, that this election does matter, and they have strong opinions. And people who might not have thought about voting, are now going to make sure that their voices get heard, and they're going to make sure that the government that gets elected in the United States reflects their values and their priorities. And that's what democracy is supposed to be all about. We had difficult, divisive discussions in our election campaign. We've had challenges around all sorts of things, and I think the sense is that we're a place that has been able to work through it and work it out a little bit better than some other places, because Canada is one of those countries that figured out a fair while ago that differences and diversity are actually a source of strength, not a source of weaknesses. And when you sort of draw people together with a whole bunch of different perspectives, but a similar desire to succeed and create a good future for themselves and their neighbors, there's a lot of good things that happen.
Not many countries beat Canada in terms of immigration. 1 out of 5 Canadians weren't born there. And 1 out of 10 refugees resettled across the world is resettled in Canada. And yet all of this diversity is not causing the chaos that many people feared. And that diversity now shows up in its leadership. One of the first things that Justin Trudeau did as Prime Minister was design a diverse cabinet of an equal amount of men and women. So what would the world look like if every cabinet or every office was 50-50?
First of all, citizens around the world would be more comfortable that their issues might be noticed and taken seriously. I mean, quite frankly, we need a new set of solutions. I mean, if we know that Einstein was right, the problems we have created for ourselves can't be solved at the same level of thinking that created those problems. Well, I mean, we need to try a different approach that's much more heterogeneous in our decision making.
But it's not like it's all rainbows and butterflies either. In the 90s, the country was so divided that it almost separated, and many Canadians aren't on board with this multiculturalism. There's even a poll showing that a third of Canadians actually agree with Trump's Muslim ban. How do you govern for all Canadians, including those?
Well, for me, I try to bring it down to the actual people and the individuals. I mean, there's two ways to do it. The first one is that on individuals, and you ask if they really, when they think about that, they're really thinking about the shopkeeper down the street who they see every day and goes, no, that guy's great, but it's just in general and you realize that it's a nebulous fear that is latched onto an idea, but it's not actually tangible. And a great example of that was the issue of Quebec's Charte des Valeurs, right?
This was a highly controversial but popular bill recently proposed in Quebec. It would have banned state employees from wearing religious symbols while working.
When people actually realized what that would mean was, for example, a young woman would have to choose between her job and her faith, people say, well, no, that's not what we wanted at all, and that's not what we mean at all. So I think a lot of what we need to do is really unpack the consequences of things. I mean, a society that tells a woman what she has to wear on her head, in the case of a veil or a niqab, is not a free society. But then how is a society that tells a woman what she can't wear on her head or on her face? How is that a free society? And it's not an easy question. It's not an easy answer. The challenge is politics doesn't work in thoughtful, reasonable conversations anymore. It happens in sound bites, in shouted slogans, in bumper stickers, in 10-second video clips. And how we take those tools that we have to use and tie them to reasonable conversations is the big challenge that politics is defined by now.
So even though we love to dream about running away to Canada, these problems sound pretty familiar, and Canada has its own issues.
We're doing okay, but there's a lot of work still to do.
So what's the work left to do? What are the things that all have to fix?
A big one. Canada has, for generations, if not centuries, broken its relationship and its partnership with Indigenous peoples. We ignored the fact that thousands upon thousands of Indigenous women and girls went missing and murdered over the past few decades, and we need to re-engage with that responsibly. We need to look at the fact that a kid who grows up in an Indigenous community doesn't have the same access to education or positive outcomes that any kids born anywhere else in the country have. So there's a lot of work to do on that file. There's more work to do even on feminism. I mean, everyone's talking about how it's 2016 and we're doing well, and they're good things that we've done, but we're still way down on the list of countries in terms of pay equity. I mean, Canada's worse than a lot of other countries, including ones we wouldn't suspect we would be worse than, on are women paid as much as men. So, I mean, there's a lot of work still to do. Cheers, guys. Thank you, guys. I've got a really good job right now running Canada.
When has running away from our problems really solved anything? Maybe instead of running away to Canada, we can learn something from it. Would you drop? Do you know feminist Ryan Gosling, the meme?
Yes, I've seen a little bit of that. Yes.
There's a study that shows that when men were exposed to the meme, they were more likely to identify with feminist beliefs. Would you be willing for us to use a photo of you and put the feminist meme? Like we'll put it
absolutely.
For you.
Applications to apply for permanent residence in Canada.
I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it?
I couldn't do it.
What if it was like 3 degrees warmer?
I know this girl from Canada and I hate her so much, and so she ruined the country for me. I'm not even kidding. If you can kick out this one person from the country and grant me refugee status from Donald Trump, I'm totally going to move to your country. Where do I put my email?
Like your height, if you want, color of your eyes. Like your Tinder application.
Okay, does he get it?
Yeah.
How do I put like dating 2 people? Is that an option?
Yeah, just put like polyamorous
Here.
or like whatever you want to call that.
Dating 2 men.